I always believed being kind was a strength. I wasn't the loudest guy in the room or the one flexing at the gym. But I listened, remembered the small things, and made sure the people I cared about felt safe. Especially Kayla. We'd been dating for a little over a year. She was bold, confident, the kind of woman who turned heads just walking into a room. I was the quiet balance to her fire, or at least, I thought I was. Until that night, we were out with her friends, Maya and Elise, grabbing dinner. Everything was going fine, drinks, laughter, light teasing, until the conversation shifted. Kayla rolled her eyes after I offered to pay the bill again and said, loud enough for the table to hear, "You're just too soft sometimes. Real women need men who don't ask if they're okay every 5 minutes." Maya laughed nervously. Elise looked stunned, and I just smiled, even though my stomach dropped. She kept going, "You're sweet, but sometimes I wonder if you're built for someone like me. Maybe you need, I don't know, someone softer." There it was, the truth, cloaked in jokes. I nodded, pretending it didn't hurt. Pretending I wasn't shrinking inside. Later that night, as Kayla went to bed early claiming she was exhausted, I overheard her on the phone with someone, maybe Elise. "He's just not it. He's boring, soft, like a golden retriever who brings flowers." I didn't sleep. The next morning, Kayla left for a weekend yoga retreat. Maya and Elise stopped by a few hours later to drop off something she forgot. We made small talk at the door, but Elise lingered. "You know," she said, "what she said last night, it wasn't cool." Maya nodded. "Not even close. Honestly, I think she's just so used to chaos that peace feels boring." I didn't know what to say. I just shrugged and said, "It's fine. I am who I am." But Elise gave me a strange look then, not pity, not sympathy, something more like recognition. Something was about to shift. I could feel it. Kayla left Friday morning with barely a goodbye. She tossed her yoga mat into the backseat of her friend's car, slammed the door, and pulled away like she couldn't leave fast enough. I stood at the window for a moment, wondering how a woman could feel so far away even when she'd been lying beside me just hours earlier. I spent the morning cleaning, not because the place was messy, but because it helped me stay out of my own head. The silence wasn't peaceful, it was loud and uncomfortable. Her words from dinner still rang in my ears. Too soft, not built for a real woman. I could have written it off if she were joking. But I knew better. Kayla had a habit of wrapping insults in smiles and pretending they were just playful comments. By noon, I was sitting on the couch with a coffee I wasn't drinking when I heard a knock. I opened the door to see Maya and Elise standing there, Kayla's two best friends. "Hey," Maya said, holding a small tote bag. "Kayla left this in the back of my car. Thought we'd drop it off." "Oh, thanks," I said, reaching for it. But Elise held up a tray of takeout containers. "Also, we brought food. Hope that's okay." I blinked. Sure." They stepped inside, awkward at first, like they weren't sure they were allowed to be there. I cleared off the dining table while Maya unpacked the food. Elise grabbed plates like she'd done it 100 times. "We figured you might be bored this weekend," Maya said. I smiled politely. "Not much going on, yeah." We sat down to eat, and for a while, it was just small talk. Movies, work. Elise had started a photography business. Maya was trying to quit a job she hated. I listened more than I spoke, as usual. And I noticed something. They weren't laughing at me. They weren't rolling their eyes at the way I spoke or mocking me for being too nice. They were warm. After lunch, I made coffee, and we moved to the living room. Elise wandered over to the piano in the corner. It had been gathering dust since Kayla complained the sound interrupted her flow. "You play?" she asked, gently brushing the keys. "A little," I said. "Not very well," she smirked. "I'll be the judge of that." I sat down reluctantly. The moment my fingers touched the keys, my body relaxed, like the music knew what to do before I even thought. I played a quiet melody, soft and slow. Nothing fancy, but when I looked up, both of them were staring. Maya blinked first. That was beautiful. Elise didn't say anything. She just smiled in a way that made my chest tighten. It wasn't a flirty smile. It was something deeper, admiration, maybe. Or respect. They stayed until almost 9 that night. We laughed more than I had in months. Elise helped me load the dishwasher. Maya folded a throw blanket on the couch before she left. And when the door finally closed, I realized I missed them the second they were gone. The next morning, I found a text from Elise. Greater than, Maya and I were thinking, would you wanna hang out again? Brunch. I stared at it longer than I should have. Then replied, greater than, sure, I'd like that. We met at a quiet diner downtown. I offered to pay again, half expecting a sarcastic jab. But Elise smiled and said, thank you, and Maya nudged me, chivalry lives. They asked about my childhood, my music, what I actually wanted out of life. Kayla had never asked those things, not once. We walked through a bookstore afterward. Elise stopped to admire a photo collection, and Maya drifted toward the journals. I watched them, both different, both expressive, both kind. And I realized something I hadn't admitted before: Kayla had never seen me. Not really. That night, they came over again. We cooked together, pasta and garlic bread. Maya played DJ with her phone while Elise chopped vegetables beside me. She bumped into me playfully once, then didn't move away. After dinner, Maya dozed off on the couch. Elise and I stayed up, sitting across from each other on the floor, leaning against the coffee table. You know, she said, swirling the wine in her glass, when Kayla talks about you, it's like she doesn't even know who you are. I looked down. She said you were boring. Predictable. But you're the opposite. You're present. You listen. That's rare. I shrugged. I guess I'm not exciting. She leaned in slightly. You don't need to be loud to be unforgettable. There was a long pause. She set her glass down. Can I ask you something? Why do you stay with her? The question hit hard. I thought about the nights Kayla turned away from me in bed. The time she called my handwritten letter cringy. The way she never looked up from her phone when I was speaking. I guess I thought, maybe if I loved her harder, she'd see me. Elise reached over and touched my hand. You deserve someone who doesn't need convincing. The silence between us grew soft, warm, real. And then she leaned in. It wasn't a wild kiss. It wasn't urgent or messy. It was slow, certain. I didn't pull away. The next morning, Maya made pancakes. Elise wore one of my oversized hoodies. We laughed, danced barefoot in the kitchen. It felt like something out of a life I didn't know I was allowed to want. By Sunday evening, when they both left, the house didn't feel empty. It felt full, with memory, with honesty, with something finally real. And I knew, everything had changed. Kayla came home Sunday night expecting everything to be the same. I heard the keys rattle at the door as I cleaned up the last of the wine glasses. My heart didn't race like it used to when I heard her footsteps. No nervous energy. No need to prepare myself. She walked in wearing oversized sunglasses, carrying a bag with some retreat logo on it. She didn't even say hi at first, just sighed and looked around. Place looks surprisingly clean. I smiled faintly. Had company. That got her attention. She raised an eyebrow. Company. I didn't elaborate. Just walked to the sink and kept drying the dishes. She stood there, watching me. Okay, well, I'm gonna take a shower. I nodded. Go ahead. But something shifted in her tone. Her voice lost that usual edge of control. You're acting weird. Am I? You're usually more eager. Clingy. I placed the glass down gently. Guess I've been rethinking things. She narrowed her eyes. Rethinking what? You. Us. All of it. She let out a half laugh. Because I went to a yoga retreat for the weekend. I turned around. You think that's what this is about? There was a silence. Then I said, I overheard what you said. To Elise. About me. The golden retriever comment. Her jaw tensed. I get it now, I continued. You don't want soft. You don't want someone who listens. You want someone who chases. Who argues. Who makes you feel like you're in a competition. Kayla crossed her arms. And what? Now you're trying to be tough. No, I said calmly. I'm just done letting you confuse kindness for weakness. She stared at me, like I'd spoken in a language she didn't understand. And you know what's funny? I added, your friends, they saw it, they saw me. What does that mean? Her tone sharpened. It means they respected me more in one weekend than you did in a year. The room went cold. She stepped closer, accusingly. You're telling me something happened with Maya and Elise. I'm telling you, I said, voice steady, that you never valued what you had. And they did. Her face twisted, part disbelief, part fury. They're my best friends. Were, I corrected gently. She stormed out, slamming the bedroom door. But for once, I didn't chase her. I didn't apologize just to smooth things over. I just sat down on the couch and let the silence settle. The next day, Kayla was gone before I woke up. No note, no text. I got one later, though, from Maya. Greater than, we told her everything. It wasn't about revenge, it was about truth. She'll never understand. And another from Elise. Greater than, you didn't change, you just stopped dimming your light for someone who never saw you. A week passed. I moved out of the apartment. Started fresh, a small studio near a music school, closer to where I taught piano on weekends. Elise dropped by sometimes, Maya too, but not as visitors, as friends. As people who saw me, respected me, and reminded me that being soft never meant being weak. Kayla tried to reach out once, a long message filled with half apologies and maybe we rushed into things. I didn't respond, not out of spite, but peace. I finally understood that some people only know how to love in chaos, and when you offer them calm, they mistake it for emptiness. But I'm not empty. I'm full of music, stillness, and quiet strength. The kind that doesn't need to shout to be heard. The kind that makes even the loudest people stop and listen. And for the first time in a long time, I was exactly where I was supposed to be.